Hello, this is Gallery News and Reviews. Welcome to the program again. My name is Pat Lorette. I'm Assistant Curator at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia and your host for this program. Our series is designed to keep you informed about what is going on in the public galleries in and around Halifax. This week, our show focuses on the fiber structures of Charlotte Lindgreen, an exhibition which will be on view at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia through June the 2nd. Earlier this week, Ron Schubrook from the Studio Division of the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design talked with Charlotte Lindgreen about her life and work. Here is that interview now.
Charlotte, when did you first begin to think of yourself as an artist?
I was in Montreal when, for the first time, a newspaper reporter asked what my hobby was, and I told her it was walking.
I'm aware that your work has been in a number of important international exhibitions, including the International Biennial Tapestry in Lausanne, Switzerland. How important are such exhibitions to your ambitions as an artist?
Well, it's the opportunity to work with the best people in the world, to see how you stack up, and to be able to work on a large scale and see what's going on.
When did you first show in that exhibition at Lausanne?
In 1967, the first time.
You've described your work as fiber structures. Why do you use this term to characterize your work?
I used to call them woven hangings because I do weave, but I found that leads to more misunderstanding than to understanding. And so it also gives me the chance, if I want to go off the loom and still work with fiber.
What role then does craft play in the making of your work?
I'm glad you asked that question because I don't consider myself to be a craftsman any more than any other artist working in any other medium. I think that every artist has a craft, a technique. It's a synonym for technique, just as every artist is a designer. But it's when you go beyond that and are trying to express ideas and
Given the concern with ideas, perhaps you might talk a bit about some of the ideas that you are interested in exploring in the weavings or in the fiber structures.
You know, really what I'm trying to do is tell you some of my own private life experiences and observations and how I feel about space. I have a very strong feeling about order and structure.
Many of these pieces, in fact, the majority of the pieces in this exhibition seem to be very concerned with three-dimensional space. Why do you continue using weaving processes to fabricate most of these pieces in light of this concern?
Because the loom really has all the limitations set up, and I really find that pushing against those limitations and exploring those possibilities gives me a tremendous potential. I like working within that discipline, and what I use are planes. So I work with planes that can then, after the work comes off the loom, they can be expanded. So you see, the weaving is only half. It's only the first part where the potential for form is, and then the second part is expanding the form and resolving it, and then all these planes, their relationships and their spatial possibilities are my exploration beyond that.
Do both of these aspects, the initial weaving and then the fabrication of the planes and then the working through of the overall structure, where do both of these activities take place? Do they take place in the same studio? Or
no, they're two studios. Yes, I weave at home. I have a space in my home because I like to work at night and it's very comfortable there. And then I have a studio that has a lot of vertical space for resolving the form. The first part, the weaving goes fast and the work is flat and it's tense. When it comes off the loom and goes into the second studio, it is relaxed and it's it's quite a different thing.
Okay, the fiber structures in this current exhibition range in size from the intimate to the monumental. Could you discuss the reasons for this variety of scale?
Well, I think the very large ones, in a way, are more intimate than the small ones because they, you're into them. They're so large that the space is inside and it's around you and you're part of it. The small ones, well, it's on the wall and you're there and you see it, I think, in a less intimate way. But I'm very concerned with space.
In light of the concern with that kind of environmental or mental space, would you discuss the function of the spaces between the actual physical parts of the viewer? How those spaces operate, what the viewer might be concerned with or should be thinking about when they view the works?
All right. There's a whole new series that I call the Walking Series, and these really are light space modules in that the work is actually seen as a two-dimensional flat work, but it's the energy of light that I'm dealing with here, and that the space flows from the front to the back. They advance and they recede, so that the viewer has to move in order to see this work and how it changes, so that that's how I use space in the context of those works. The spaces had to be defined for many of these works so that they are isolated from each other because they can destroy each other if seen all at once in a great jumble.
Okay, in light of in light of those things that you've just referred to, perhaps you might talk a bit about how color then operates in the individual works and how color is used to carry through your intentions.
Yes, I'd say texture as well. Color and texture I use only in terms of clarifying the structure and to differentiate the planes.
And so you're not then concerned with say the emotive?
Oh yes,
suggestive
oh yes, oh yes,
color?
oh yes, always. In the black ones, I use black in these great tall cylinders that connect the floor and ceiling because I want it to be very weightless. They're very large, but they're quite weightless because they're black, and they're very clear because they're black. Also because of the spiritual quality. To me, black means eternity.
I see. Perhaps you might, though you've already touched on some aspects of this, perhaps you could talk a bit about the sources of such recent works as the Arctic piece, Windjammer, it's another piece on the other side of the room, and several of the other walking pieces that you referred to previously.
All right. Arctic was a very direct experience of traveling in the Arctic. I have a job on Baffin Island, and that piece is 8 layers of white, and the Arctic is the land that never melts. And so it has this, it's not a very large work, but it has a feeling of vastness and silence and quietness that I feel when I go to the Arctic. Windjammer is a concern with things in this area. I have a very strong feeling about living in the Maritimes, and I've been involved in looking at things about the sea. And so this was an idea about ancient linen sails and how things are now. It's an integration of acrylic, which is very modern, clear, and this linen plane that is, they're both together, and it has something to do with this region, I feel.
So, excuse me, environmental influences do play a part in your work.
Sure.
Could you talk perhaps about, are there other works in which environmental influences have affected the nature of the work?
All right, there are two that come to mind immediately. One called attic. I grew up in an attic. That was my room. I have a lot of very good feelings about attics. I think that they're places of retreat, and they're sort of mysterious, and it's connected to the rest of the house, but it's apart from the rest of the house, and it's where I learned to be an observant person, I think, and a solitary person. The other one is Witchy, which is the name of a little woods my children used to walk through in Winnipeg, and just the name of it, the Witchy, it appealed to the child, I think, in all of us, so that I hope that when you look at it, you get that feeling that it's larger than you are, and that it is a tree, a large tree. The shadow is part of it, and the shadow is supposed to be sort of scary. The acrylic at the top casts a sort of eerie glow, and that's all part of the work. Part of the fiber structure, you see, extends to the wall, to the shadows on the wall.
So you really are considering every aspect of the work, the shadows and the way light may be reflected by the work.
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay. There's another work, it's in the other part of the gallery, Isosceles. I think that's also from 1980. Like many of the works in the exhibition, it employs transparent acrylic sheeting as part of the work. Perhaps you could discuss the function of that acrylic and any other aspect of that particular work.
All right. It's a large triangle, so that when you come up to it and look in the base, the acrylic extends the work so that it has a base. And underneath you see the woven wool. Well, people feel rather, they know wool, and this is a very familiar thing, but somehow that acrylic, and the fact that it's dark, transparent acrylic, removes you from that intimate feeling and somehow fixes it in time, gives it a very, very different feeling from if it were clear or if it was expanded with metal. And it's reflective too. So you see all sorts of different aspects. You can even see yourself in it.
Excuse me. It also has a kind of pragmatic function too, doesn't it? As a plane to hold the.
Yes, it's weight, and it's that dimension that makes the base.
Okay. In light of these things that we're talking about, that you've thought about in the making of these works, what kind of information do you expect the viewer to bring to the experience of your works?
Well, his memories, his thoughts. What I really hope to do is to engage the viewer so that he looks at it and it more or less triggers ideas or responses, so that he sees something that's familiar and yet unfamiliar, and he takes and gives to it.
So you expect the viewer to be active in relation to the work, not passive. It seems to me, this may be off on another tangent, but it seems to me that many of our audience are conditioned by passive responses, maybe by TV viewing or whatever, and your work demands something other than that.
Yeah, well, when people tell me that the dreamer reminds them of being in a birchwood in springtime, that kind of color and that kind of lightness, I really think that I've gotten through to them.
I see. Okay. Now we've talked a lot about all the parts of the work and the various individual qualities of the works. In light of that, how was this the installation of all these different works achieved and decided in this particular gallery?
Well, there was a model. My husband made a model, 1/4 inch to the foot, so that I had a 3-dimensional model of the mezzanine and this downstairs gallery to work with, and I made a small model of each work, and could see how they would relate to each other, how they had to be isolated from each other, and how they would look at different perspectives so that they were as isolated as possible, and when they did relate, when you saw two at once, that one didn't throw you off, didn't disturb the other.
what role will you play in future installations as this exhibition travels across the country to go to other museums?
Well, the other museums have agreed that I will participate in the final installation so that, again, I can have that kind of input to the exhibition.
So you're really interested in controlling every aspect of the exhibition then, as much as possible?
Yes.
Where does the exhibition go from here?
It goes to Toronto, to Harbourfront Gallery, in late August.
And that's a city gallery, I think, in Toronto, is it?
It's right down at the Harbourfront. Big, beautiful space, looks out on the lake.
Okay. It's been 15 years since we've had a chance, I think, to see a solo show of your work in Halifax. What meaning does an exhibition like this in the local museum have for you?
Well, people have been asking me what I do. They don't know. They hear that I've been showing my work other places, and now it just, it's a good idea because I have a strong feeling about this community and I like to be part of it, so I can't be unknown. But also, I have good feelings about this being a provincial gallery, and to relate to this community, it's a good space for my work as well, and I live just across the street.
So it is very important for you to show here.
Important personally, emotionally.
Okay. Not
Sort of embarrassing in ways. It's like your family wants to know what you do, and then you show them what you do, and there's a little bit of shuffling around.
Oh, will there be a publication or a catalog in relation to this exhibition? I don't see one yet here, but...
It wasn't possible to do one before the exhibition because of photography difficulties. There's one in preparation now, and it will be published, I think, before the end of the month.
Could you describe the format a little bit of the catalog?
All right, it's primarily a picture book. There are a lot of photographs. Each of the works is photographed, and details of the works. And then there are notes, my own personal notes, sometimes drawings, to explain. That's the whole idea of the catalog, is so that you can understand better about each work.
Okay. Are there other projects that you have in mind for the future after this exhibition is on its way, so to speak?
Well, I'll continue to work. I'm back at my work, which I hadn't been for 2 years. And I'm also working with the Baffin Island people, so that those are two things that will keep going.
Well, you've referred to the Baffin Island work. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that for us.
I went to Pangnerton, Baffin Island, as a visiting artist on the Canada Council program, to the weaving shop there. I was very interested in visiting the Arctic, and a friend of mine told me that if I was going to go to the Arctic, I might as well go to the most beautiful place. And by a very, very weird coincidence, it was the only weaving shop in the north. So that the people in Frobisher Bay asked me for a report of my visit, and they were interested then in asking me to be a consultant for the shop, which is what I do. I help them arrange exhibitions for their tapestries and advise about tapestries. That's what they do, is woven pictures as well as production items.
You're not then involved with maybe the aesthetic end of what they do, or how do you influence that?
Well, I hope I do have something to do with the aesthetic end. I think that's what my job is all about.
I see. Excuse me. I understand that one of your works is in the collection of the Pierre Polier Association in Lausanne. Perhaps you could elaborate a little bit about that collection. I understand it's a very important collection.
Yes, and it's a new collection. It came about because the international biennials in Lausanne have been going on for several years, and yet there's been no permanent collection. So that this is an invitation to become part of this international collection. It does not include everybody who's ever been involved in the biennials, but only certain artists. So that it is a great honor to be invited. And this will be a permanent collection. I think it's going to be housed in a castle in Switzerland. And it will travel in Europe and possibly North America.
I think there are only 55 pieces or 55
People.
works of people.
Yeah, well, each person has a work. That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yes.
And
It is an honor.
That's from across the globe. You've talked quite a bit about the most recent work in the exhibition. Perhaps you might offer some comments about the earlier work, the Lausanne piece, The Bride, and I think the Tunnel of Love is also from an earlier period.
Yes. Well, The Bride is the oldest one in the show. It was 1965. I don't do anthropomorphic forms anymore. But, and if this is the only work that I keep, it's a very strong symbol of continuity, a bride, it seems to me, and people will respond to it.
When was that piece made?
1965,
Where were you living at that time?
in Halifax.
In Halifax?
Yes, in Chocolate Lake. The other one, the Tunnel of Love, was made for the 1969 biennial, and this was an exploration of my multi-plane form. And it's very skeletal, very, very buoyant, and really contains space and light. And the third one is the Idicule, the one that's going to Switzerland. And this was done in 1967. When people were doing environments, I realize now when I look back, you always work in the time, the time influences you. So that this was not a form in space, that wasn't the intention, but to make the space itself. And the idea was that it wasn't complete until a person was sitting in it, and the whole thing was to experience it, to enter it, and to face the tapestry at the back, and then to turn around, to sit down in it, and to look out, to perceive the outside in a different way. But it was the space itself that I was making.
It's a bit unfortunate, I suppose, that we can only mentally enter the space in this exhibition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Tunnel of Love piece has a very prominent place in the exhibition when one walks in the door here.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a specific reason for that besides that it was an open space?
Well, it's a very frontal piece. You have to see it head on, and it's very skeletal and large, and it needs a lot of natural light on it. So it seemed to be a good place to put it.
You've used a variety of materials, a variety of fibers.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any fibers that you tend to stay away from, or specific fibers that you use a great deal? How do you choose
Oh, I
what
choose,
fibers you're going to use?
well, beyond the visual, I'm very
Works in the mezzanine. I'm thinking about the way the bride works. I don't recall the name of the other piece.
the female form.
Yes.
White one? Yeah, that's man-made fiber. And I was really fascinated by the light reflecting qualities of it, so that it seemed obvious to use it in convex ways to make convex forms, to stuff them. And this turned out to be very female form. I grew up during the war years, and it really reminded me a lot of packing ditty bags, and so that's what I called it.
Well, this has been a very interesting conversation for me, and I'd like to thank you, Charlotte, for allowing me to talk with you now.
Thank you for your good questions.
Thank you.
That exhibition of fiber structures by Charlotte Lindgreen will be on display at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia until June 2nd. That's on Coburg Road. Now let's take a look at what's going on in the other galleries around Halifax. At the Dalhousie Art Gallery, the drawings of Christian Flug, as well as European landscapes from the collection of the Winnipeg Art Gallery, will be on view through June 8th. Mount St. Vincent Art Gallery will have the Biennale of New Quebec Tapestry and portrait sculpture of Doris Judah on view through May 18th. The photographs of Michel Lambeth and the architectural drawings of Leslie Fairn will open May 23rd and continue through June 15th. At St. Mary's University Art Gallery, the Prairie Boys Summer of William Kurelek will be shown through May 21st. The Eye Level Gallery will have a dance performance by Sarah Shelton Mann and Byron Brown on May 16th at 8:30 p.m. The Eye Level Gallery will also cooperate with the Center for Art Tapes in bringing you the Audio by Artists Festival, May 14th through 24th. Also, Kenneth Coots Smith will be showing paintings and drawings May 20th through May 31st. The Anna Leonowens Gallery will show a film installation by Sandra Miggs through May 17th. We welcome your comments on this program. Please send them to Gallery News and Reviews in care of Dalhousie Art Gallery, Dalhousie University, Halifax. Or if you prefer, phone 424-2403. Next week, our show will feature the activities of the Center for Art Tapes. We hope you'll join us then. Thanks very much for watching.